Let's talk first of all about the sentence she has got. 20 years. It was at the maximum end of the recommended sentencing for this level of crime. In America, when you sentence to 20 years, you serve 20 years, don't you?
Yes, you do. And there was a lot of argument in court yesterday about what the sentence should be. And eventually the judge said, agreed with the prosecution that the appropriate tariff was starting point would be 14 to 17 and a half years and not the 24 to 30 years that the prosecution was asking for. And what it tells you about the case is that if the tariff is somewhere between 14 and 17 and a half, she got 20. And so what the judge is saying is that I'm putting it over the normal maximum for this offence because of the aggravating features.
And she called it a heinous and predatory crime. And she made it very clear she wasn't being punished for, you're the only person still alive out of you and Jeffrey Epstein. We're punishing you for Jeffrey Epstein crimes. She made it very clear, this wasn't a proxy. She had committed her own crimes and she herself deserved this punishment.
Well, as you know, Julia, if you're involved in a conspiracy to commit crimes, you're as responsible, and the sentencing is the same as if you were the principal. So a conspiracy to commit sex trafficking and rape, essentially, would give her the same sort of sentence that Jeffrey Epstein would have got. Now, it is worth noting that the sentencing guidelines have improved in the sense that longer sentences are now the starting point for this following the Me Too movement. But I think, the question that is on everybody's lips this morning is, as usual, a woman is the person who is essentially held publicly culpable for sex crimes. And what about all of the individuals who were using these women and abusing these women? They seem to have escaped.
This is it. We know about her little black book. We know lots of names. Look, there are lots of people's names in that book who are just people they know. These people, Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein mixed with pretty much everyone we've ever heard of. There are pictures of every famous politician, every TV presenter, celebrity, mogul with them. They were at all the parties, American presidents and the like. But this is it. So many people have testified and have given interviews where they said it was obvious there were dozens of young girls, clearly underage girls at his island in the Caribbean, house in New York, in Florida. Some of the sexual abuse happened in the open. It was very obvious. It's not possible for these people to have been around Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and not to have known what was going on or made a darn good guess. And yet, none of them are facing prosecution. And there are some really big question marks about some very famous men indeed, aren't there?
There are, and I think, I think the Black Book is something of a distraction. The place that I think any sensible law enforcement group like the police in America would have gone and should have gone is to the victims, the survivors of this abuse. Those women know who raped them. They know the names of those individuals. And in those circumstances, there doesn't appear to have been any names mentioned by any of the victims. And that's got to be for a reason. And it isn't yet clear what that reason is. So there are men out there who need to be brought to account because it's the old problem we have in this country that users of prostitutes are never criminalized, but the people who are the prostitutes are criminalised. That's not to say these women were prostitutes, but the analogy is the point I'm trying to make.
I completely agree with you. I think it's a very, very big issue here, and I wonder whether she's obviously going to try and negotiate to serve her prison term, get out of the prison term. There's going to be an appeal, and to serve her prison term in the UK, if not in easier circumstances. But I wonder, whether what she's got to offer would be names from the book.
I think that's right, but I think she's blown that. I think she had to come up with that at the beginning. She had to show remorse, and she hasn't. So she's been sentenced.
What I don't understand.
But on the sentencing point, I think it's a really important point you make about her serving her sentence in the UK. So there is a quirk of law which people haven't picked up yet, which is that if you move from the United States, where if you're sentenced to 20 years, you serve 20 years, over here, you serve a third of your sentence.
So a very good incentive for her to try and move in. Indeed, there. Mark Stevens, we'll have to leave it there. Mark Stevens from Howard Kennedy, thank you very much indeed. 8:29.